Everyone, welcome to another episode of the Leaders Series. We're going to St. Louis, Missouri today. We're speaking to Ron and Dee from Dougherty Business Systems. 37 years in the business of technology. Ron is the founder and CEO, and Deanna is the VP for Global Expansion. Really great conversation, one of my favourite conversations thus far. I'm not going to go into all the detail about what we go through because we go through a lot, but let me just say, if you want to listen to a podcast that's going to excite you about working for a company or working with a company, this is the one to listen to. Really, really inspiring people. So I hope you enjoy it. Here you are, Ron and Dee from Dougherty. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the GCS Connect Leaders Series. Really excited today. We're talking to two of our clients out in St. Louis, Missouri. So the international reach of GCS and the Leaders Series continues apace. We have today, we've got Deanna Miller, who is the VP for Global Expansion at Dougherty Business Systems. And we've also got Ron Doherty of Dougherty Business Systems. I believe Dougherty's been going for 37 years. So I'm assuming you were there from the start, right, Ron?
Yes, sir, I was. And it's Dougherty, it rhymes with party. That's a good way to remember. Dougherty rhymes with party.
And I do love Business Solutions.
Daugherty Business Solutions, I've got it. So that's good. I've been saying Dougherty, which is obviously wrong. So Dougherty, I've got it. Brilliant. So the business itself is going through really, really exciting growth at the moment. I believe that you've taken on 600 people so far this year in 2021, which is amazing. Unfortunately, GCS hasn't placed all of those people. That would be lovely if we had, but there we go. There's something to look forward to. And we're really, really excited about what you're doing. We're working with you in Europe, and I know that's a big part of your role, Dee. But for people that don't know Dougherty, please, can you just tell us a little bit about the business and also your kind of roles within the business and what you're really looking to achieve at this moment in time and the success, really?
Yeah, I'd be happy to get us started with that, David. So we started the company 37 years ago, and we've been very fortunate. We have over 2,000 employees now, and as you said, we're growing fast. We think the sky's the limit here. And I'm the original founder of the company, and we've never had any outside investors. So I own 100% of the business, and that gives us the ability to do what we think is best and right for the long term, as well as the short term. So I've always appreciated and enjoyed that. And I'm very driven to move our company forward. We're getting close to 300 million in revenue now, in annual revenue. And I believe I can take the company to $1 billion in revenue while I'm still able to stand up and cheer. And so I'm driven to do that. So why am I driven to do it at this point? Because I've learned over the years that the larger and more successful our company is, the more of a positive difference we can make. And in fact, we just had an interesting leadership training session. I brought senior leaders from around the Dougherty enterprise in for a session, and I may talk about that some more later. But there one concept that came up that was very, very relevant to how I think about the business, and it was the concept of success versus significance.
Right.
So success means that we grow, we're making money, we're hiring people, and that's really important. But the reason it's important to me is because the more successful we are, the more significant we can become. And significant means you're making a positive difference in this world. It means that you're doing things that matter and that you're helping people and so on. So the goal and the vision for the company has always been to be very successful so that we can be very significant.
Fantastic. And I guess part of that significance is obviously global expansion, Dee. So how do you see that growth, and how are you driving that yourself?
Sure, I can take that on. So let me first say I'm super excited. We've opened up offices in Poland and Panama.
Sure.
And
all the P's.
we're only picking countries with P's.
Right.
We're really impressed with the talent pool that we see in Poland. We've hired some great employees. I support I support our largest client at Doherty that is a global company. And so, it's been great to pull them into my team. We have 230 consultants engaged at that client. So it's an organization in itself. And so, to be able to bring a global workforce to our global client was really necessary. And that's really why I've been involved with this. For me, I have a passion about bringing women into technology jobs. And, when we were picking sites, I looked at Poland and they're making a lot of strides in graduating women from their technical universities. I read an article the other day that one of their top technical universities was able to boast and brag that they had graduated 50% women. And so, I'm very hopeful to play a role in attracting them to join us at Doherty.
And I think that's something that we've talked about. We've obviously been doing this Leaders Series for 18 months now. And a lot is about diversity, and a lot comes back to education and making sure that the people coming out of education are diverse, particularly in the gender basis. So do you understand more maybe with regards to Poland, what they're doing right, and maybe what you would suggest maybe it should be done in the UK or the United States in terms of changing that dial?
I have some personal opinions on that. And I noticed that Poland is doing this. They have a really strong STEM program that, encouraging from a younger age to get women and, young girls involved in the math and the sciences. And I can talk about that from my personal career. I was lucky enough to come from a family that, was all about education. My parents were immigrants from Germany. It was all about math and science. Ron doesn't know this, but I was on a competitive traveling math team growing up. That's how serious my family was.
That is impressive.
So, I feel really lucky that I was surrounded by that growing up. So it wasn't strange for me to go into math and science. But, every young girl across, I think, every country doesn't have those same opportunities. And so I think you have to have the programs to get them exposed to it and get them excited about, those fields when they're young.
I'm interested, Ron. Obviously, GCS has been going for 30 years. Doherty's been going for 37. So you beat us there. Congratulations.
Well, 30 is very impressive as well, David. Congratulations to you.
And it also rhymes with Doherty, doesn't it? So yeah, so it's good. The challenge, we just talked about a serious challenge that really is something that we're looking at now and has risen a lot in the last few years, which is obviously diversity. And you talked earlier about significance and obviously the history of the business. Is that something that I like to be quite honest on in the podcast, in that it's something that has really become more important and more talked about in the last 5 to 10 years? Not saying it wasn't important then. Is it something that you've been aware of since, I think we say 1985, or is it something that you feel has become more prevalent in the last 5 to 10 years, or is it something that you've always tried to do within the business?
Yeah, that's a great question, David. And why don't let me just take a minute and share what Doherty does, because I just realized I skipped over that and talked about a number of important things. But what we do is we leverage new leading technologies to drive business value, primarily for major corporations. We're working with 75 of the largest, most successful companies on the planet every day, as well as a number of mid-sized companies. And so we use leading technologies, advanced analytics, machine learning, software engineering, the leading software engineering, software development tools, techniques, and methods. So for instance, we used advanced analytics to help Coca-Cola, a global company that many have heard of, understand how to better allocate their marketing spend. And the specific example that I'll use is a product called Coke Cherry Zero. Coke
Right.
Cherry Zero. The executives at Coca-Cola believed that Coke Cherry Zero would be preferred by women over men, and men would not be very interested. Women would love it, and so they invested most of their marketing spend on the female population, and that was through experience, intuition, that's just how they got there. We used advanced analytics to assess the situation and determine that men like the product every bit as much as women.
I would agree.
And so this is a great example, of a major trend in the world, in the business world today, a movement toward more of an analytics-enabled organization.
Yeah.
Not just, I mean, there are some things in your experience that don't work anymore, that are not correct anymore because the world has changed. And things the same, maybe 50 years ago, women would have liked Coke Cherry Zero more than men. I don't know, but it's not true today. It's not true today. Or maybe there have been some historical products that the executives thought were similar, that resonated better with females than males, but not for this product. And so we used advanced analytics. Coke reallocated their marketing spend to address the other half of the population, and their revenues went up by millions.
Fantastic.
And so that sort of thing. We helped Southwest Airlines build the enabling technology to support their first international flights, and they had always been a regional U.S. carrier. We've helped MasterCard build technology to better support and enable fraud detection. From just things, a number of things. In fact, I participated in a bit of a test for one of those capabilities we built. It was a selfie pay application, and that is if you wanted an additional level of security when you use your credit card, you could enable selfie pay, which means you take a picture of yourself with your phone and you send it in, and that's required before your credit card can be used. And so then that makes it a little more complicated to steal your credit card number.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. As long as you're happy to.
So many examples like that. We worked with Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, and their CEO had made the commitment of reducing the time from check-in from curb to fully checked in the room to 10 minutes. And it was 90 minutes at a minimum at that point. So we built the technology. This was for the first cruise ship that this technology was used on was Quantum of the Seas. They advertised it as the world's first smart ship. And we built the technology, the next generation embarkation application. In fact, just to tell you a story about that, I was invited to join the inaugural cruise of Quantum of the Seas because the executive team was so impressed with the work that Doherty had done to build this enabling technology. So when I showed up, the car that was the driver that was dropping me said, "Whoa, I don't quite understand. Usually there's a line of cars we have to join from 2 blocks away. There doesn't seem to be much of a line." So he dropped me off. I went in, and instead of lines queued up at counters, there were agents with mobile devices who would greet you as you walked in and take your information. So one of those greeted me as soon as I walked in, and I looked at what she was doing, and I said, "Is that the next generation embarkation application?" And she said, "Yes, it is, and we love it. It's made our lives so much easier and our customers' lives so much easier." And so, I puffed up like a blowfish at that point. I was so proud. And I just said, "Well, my company wrote that software." And she said, "Well, I want to thank you. I want to thank you. It's made such a difference here." And that is the purpose of technology, to make lives better and easier. That's the purpose of technology, and that's the sort of thing we do. So that's what Doherty does.
Yeah, and I guess it links into challenges, doesn't it? I mean, for your business, it's about what is the challenge and how do we solve it? in your experience, both of you, working with customers, do you go into each project with the same sort of kind of model and structure? This is how we solve the problem, or do you find each individual challenge is different?
Well, that's a great question. Dee, let me let you start with that, and then I'll build on it if that's okay.
Yeah.
Sure. So we definitely have some capabilities that we're experts in, some frameworks that we use, but I look at every challenge like it is different and it's custom. And I don't think you can just be a technology company anymore, right? I view it just a technology company as just taking orders. We want you to do this. We're more in the business of solving business challenges like Ron was talking about. Yeah. So, that's where we start is what are you trying to achieve? Where's the value for you? And, we bring a lot of thought leadership that, sometimes it's from the technology space, like Ron was talking about, examples with data analytics, but we also have capabilities in the business space, things like product management. I helped Doherty build out that capability. Let's make sure we're solving the right problem and delivering the value. And that's the way I think about it.
Yeah, very good, very good. So let me build on that. So every situation has its uniquenesses, but we do have processes, tools, methods, techniques that we use to help us. So we don't take a entirely different thinking approach or problem solving approach. We're very open-minded and recognize that every situation is different in terms of how we apply those tools and techniques. So let me give you an example, and I might even, David, I do want to get back to your very good question on diversity, because it's so important to all of us today. And this has a little bit of a connection to diversity because there's a program that we developed called Access Point. And the name comes from the concept that talent is equally distributed, but access to opportunity is not. So we want to change that equation. And your very good question was, have we been aware of this diversity issue for 37 years? Or is it something that's really
come about recently, last 5-10 years?
Yeah. So there certainly has been some awareness that, and just a general feeling of the importance of treating people fairly, of equity, of inclusion. In fact, one of my first employees that I hired just 37 years ago, a woman named Wanda Everett. She was with our company for the rest of her life. She passed away just a few years ago, she was an African-American woman, and she grew into our head of HR. Okay. And so she made a point of keeping me aware of a number of issues that were associated in her own unique and wonderful style. Wonderful style. She did. And so I have a scholarship in her name that I award every year to a group of students from the Black Data Processing Association that throughout the U.S. And it's the Wanda Everett Memorial Scholarship. And so every year I award at least 2 scholarships to African American students to help them continue their education. And then I tell a story about Wanda, and her family comes, and it's an honor and a privilege for me to do it. But so the thinking about diversity, inclusion, equity for me started pretty early on, just with one of my first teammates helping me and then growing into the head of HR. But over the last several years, of course, it's become more of a more visible and an important issue. There's been more awareness, I believe, across the world because of a number of reasons. And so it's because of all those things, then this issue has become one of our most important areas of focus in terms of social and community support, the ways that we invest in making a positive difference. So this access point program has come to life, and there's so many interesting things about access point. I believe that to achieve the diversity numbers that we all want, we have to start at least at the high school level and then work our way back from there. We have to, and we have to make some fundamental changes in the way that we think about things. For instance, but requiring a 4-year degree before you can enter the workforce in technology is going to prevent us from achieving our diversity numbers. We have to be a little more flexible in how we think about things. So we're working with all those. We have a pilot underway with Cigna, and we have 25 high school students that we're taking from high school to a full-time, very well-paying, career-changing, life-changing job in information technology within a year. And we're working with, today we're working with almost 30 high school, secondary education school districts, and then colleges, universities, and corporations. And we're creating a collaboration beyond the level of collaboration that existed. We're starting the training at the high school level, and with a dual enrollment in high school and in a community college, so that during our training, students receive college credit, because this is not meant to be a boot camp, but the beginning of an educational and a career process that will allow these access point participants to continue to succeed and grow in their careers. So that's what we did. But here's what I got to tell you. Here's what I have to tell you to get it back, to make the long circle back, David. Thanks for bearing with me. So I asked a gentleman named Nelly to be our celebrity spokesperson, the rap superstar Nelly, who happens to be from St. Louis. And so,
because I'm down with the kids, Ron, because I'm down with the kids. When I saw the video, I was like, oh, it's Nelly. I knew who he was, and I think that kind of impressed you, didn't it, Dee? So this English guy.
Yes, it did. I was impressed.
Well, good for you. So so Nelly has been wonderful, really wonderful, really immediately understood the cause, stepped up to support it. You probably saw a video of one of our kickoff events where Nelly came, and very, very gracious. But as I talked to Nelly, I understood that he had a project he was really interested in. He wasn't quite sure how to do it. He plays cards online, Spades Plus online, with other celebrities, with Usher, with 2 Chainz, with other celebrities. And so he's interested in monetizing that. And I told him I'd be happy to help. He was so nice, so gracious, supported the cause. So we're helping him monetize his Spades Plus card playing. And there's a whole process that we've gone through. I can see the money in it, and we're going to help him get it. But it was interesting to me in that the approach that we took. Okay, here, monetize superstar rappers, Spades Plus card playing. That's a little different than our typical corporate engagement. But the processes and the tools and the techniques and the methodologies were all the same, and they took us to the answer. So yeah, we do. The fact that we've invested in building those tools, techniques, and methods is one of our competitive differentiators. It's part of the value prop that we bring. And it's very helpful.
So this is what I love about talking to you, Ron. It's like a story. It all kind of comes together. It's just like it's like a fireside. It's wonderful. You should do bedtime stories or something like that. It's a good thing. But I think that's for me, one of the things you mentioned at the start about significance, and that's one of the things we get from some of the businesses that we work with, and generally the most successful ones, is that they see, particularly now, that mission statement. This is where we're going. This is what we're trying to achieve. And Dee, one of the things I was just quite interested from yourself is, do you think as you move globally, you're a business that's quite based around America. Do you think that mission, those values, not necessarily will change, but you'll have to think about them in regards to different types of cultures, different types of backgrounds, different types of people?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about this for a minute. And the short answer is, I think we're going to be able to be more significant. I think we're going to be able to invest in the communities all over the world that we do business in, and not just locally in the US. And we're really excited about that. It's funny, when you said the word mission statement, I was thinking about, one of the hot buzzwords, sustainability. Everybody wants to know now, for every company, what's your sustainability statement? Have you worked it in your mission statement? If you don't have that, you're actually probably under pressure, because your customers want to know what you stand for. Your future workforce, they want to know what you stand for. And I think historically, people think about sustainability as the impact we have on the environment, right? Reducing carbon emissions, reducing, increasing efficiency, decreasing water usage. But now, if you actually look into it, I think everyone's expanded it. There's a social responsibility to it. And it's about a commitment to treating your workforce fairly and equally. And it's about investing, making a commitment to invest and give back in the communities where you do business. And, for us, that's what I'm really proud of working at Doherty and working with Ron, is that commitment to the full picture of that sustainability mission. And I just feel like we can do it on a larger scale now. Maybe we'll find out the challenges are the same, and maybe we'll come across some new ones. But so far, a lot of them seem the same. Like when I was talking about bringing more women into technical careers in Poland, I think some of the challenges we face in diversity seem to be worldwide.
And it's interesting, obviously, you're in Panama as well, which obviously, Poland being a kind of European country, maybe more similar in terms of wealth or something like that to the US. I mean, obviously not exactly the same. Do you feel that there's even more of a, because it's a different type of country, lots of people come from a very different background, do you think it's even more important to build that social responsibility, to give even more people a chance to move forward in their lives?
I do. It's Panama has, I would say, even more diversity in their population. It's, I would say, more of a developing country, but they have invested very heavily in education as well, and they have produced some incredible engineers. And so we're welcoming them to our team, and I think we're anxious for the pandemic to settle down so we can travel and get more involved and see how we can invest in the community there.
Obviously, the main thing about Panama is the canal, right? So I know it's kind of along the canal, so you don't always hear too much else about Panama. So it's good to know that there's, and obviously it's a very beautiful country as well. So one question I had, the 37 years, and you're still obviously very, very much involved in the business, and it's obviously a very successful business. So my first question on that is, when we talk about the significance, do you think, as like you said, 100% shareholder, someone that is, it bears my name on the door, as it were, do you think that allows you to lead these types of things in a better way? That the person that founded the business is still there, still focused, still passionate.
Yeah, I've always felt that way. I've always seen situations where public companies needed to really focus on short-term results for shareholders, or be under tremendous pressure. And I've always wanted to play the long game. The long, what is the vision of what we're trying to build over the long term? Versus what are these what are the returns we need to achieve for this quarter? Now, another thing that I learned early on is that you have to be profitable, or you won't be able to keep doing it. But so profitability always has to be protected. You always have to have a certain amount of success, or you'll lose the ability to be significant as a company. Because the bank will call and somebody will turn off the lights, and then you're done. So, but absolutely, being able to focus on the long-term strategy, the mission, the vision, the values of the organization, to not have to struggle, but the concept of being driven by a value system is so important, and I believe it's been helpful. Now let me tell you where I'm going with this. As I used to say that I'm going to run the company until I'm 150 years old and can only work part-time.
Sure.
And so, at this stage of the game, I'm not sure I'll make it quite 250. And so, since I'm not going to live forever, what am I going to do with this business? And so I made a commitment a long time ago to all of my teammates. I'm never going to sell this company, and I'm never going to take it public. So where can it go? To my employees, to my teammates. I'll do some form of as employee stock ownership. And so that's certainly one of my absolute top priorities today is to ensure that we have the succession plan, the leadership in place, strong leaders like Dee, who are ready to take the next level of responsibility for running and owning the business. And I need to get really, really close to that over the next 5 years, so that over the following 5 years we can tune it, make sure that it's right. And I don't have a date of retirement or leaving the company. It's my life's work, so imagine I'll do it as long as I can. But the succession plan will be to transition to my teammates. An outside company will never own Dougherty. I'll never sell it. I'll never take it public. And why? Right back to your original question, so that we can continue to be focused on a value-driven approach and make the greatest positive difference possible and play the long game and be driven by our vision.
Fantastic. That must be quite inspiring then, Dee, to know it's all part of this narrative, really.
It is. I mean, I feel like we're all part of making it successful. We're all going to be part of it for the long term. And, I've spent a lot of my career in big companies, and I've had great experiences, but I don't have access to Ron in those situations, right? I can't go to the CEO with an idea. I mean, gosh, when we decided to expand globally, Ron was really inspiring. He said, hey, you're not going to be able to plan this out in detail. Don't worry about the constraints. We'll work our way through them. You got to go out there and do it. Test, learn, pivot. We're going to make it happen. I mean, how often do you get to sit in the room with the CEO and get that kind of support?
Yeah. I don't let people do it with me, Dee. I don't talk to it. I just talk on the podcast. And that's it. I'm done.
No, I just have to jump in and say, and this is such a great example here of the good things that can happen in a situation like this. So Dee took the ball and ran with it, and really it just exceeded my expectations, and has helped us ramp up in a short period of time in 2 countries, and this is just the start.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at a business like that, that homegrown is the wrong word, but very much kind of driven in a long-term process towards significance. What is that? What really keeps you excited, Ron? Because you can sense the excitement, right, as a leader, like from yourself. Like, is that what keeps you excited? I think the same for myself about GCS. I feel that GCS is expanding now. It's really exciting. And I always say to people, this is the best time to join GCS. We've been going for 30 years. This is the best time to join GCS. Is that how you feel as well? It's getting better all the time, to quote the Beatles.
Oh, absolutely. This is the most exciting time in the 37 years. And it's been exciting every day for me. Yeah. Every single day as we've grown from day one, when I just, I wrote a couple things down on a yellow pad, just like this one, like this one, wrote a couple of things down. So I want this place to do exceptional work, to bring exceptional value for our clients, and to be an exceptional place for all of my teammates to work, for everyone who joins Dougherty, for them to see exceptional career opportunities. So I just wrote that down on a yellow pad. And then a bit later, I added a third thing, which is I want every community that we touch and in which we work to be better because we're there. And so those things haven't changed. They haven't changed in 37 years. but the technologies that we support are quite a bit different than they were 37 years ago, as you might imagine. And the size of the company, the scope of what we're doing, our reach, all those have changed and evolved. And so there, just recently, we've shifted our model. And this is kind of important. It's important to our global teammates as well. Shifted our model to ensure that every Dougherty teammate has access to every opportunity at Dougherty. Yeah. Now things were, why would that not have been the case all along? Because it was to a certain extent, but we had much more of a regional focus. And we did for a very specific reason. And that is, I wanted to have a high level of opportunity combined with a high quality of life. So I did not want to require my teammates to constantly travel, as many of my competitors do. If you join a big global consultancy, then you're signing up to be on the road, and that's fine.
CSC or Capgemini, or it's it's mobile role. Yeah, exactly.
So we found that often, not always, but often, individuals who are just at the peak of their careers also have families and situations that just, it's not ideal for them to be away from home 4 or 5 days a week. And so we created that kind of an environment. And so it had more of a regional focus, though we did try, of course, we worked to spread opportunity and to be creative. But with the pandemic, we saw an opportunity. There's an opportunity in everything. There's there's a lesson. There's an opportunity in everything. And there are no constraints. There are only choices. No constraints, only choices. And so we made some choices and we jumped on the opportunity. There was less importance placed on physical location. Because whether I'm in St. Louis or New York or Atlanta or Poland or Panama City or across the street from my client, I'm still going to be on a video call.
That's right. Yeah.
So let's just take advantage of that. We changed our operating model to support it. So we have an enterprise-wide sales pipeline, and we have an enterprise-wide list of available consultants ready for their next engagement. And so our teammates in Poland, Krakow, Warsaw, the Tri-Cities region, and Panama City will have access to every opportunity at Dougherty. And our teammates globally will be have exactly the same status as their teammates in the US. So we're not thinking of this as some different thing that we're doing for whatever reason. We think of this as adding teammates, expanding our talent pool to a global footprint. And we're just back, in terms of inclusion, equity, it's just a similar concept. Everyone at Dougherty has the same opportunities. And so Dee has helped to ensure that that's the case. And that we have this concept that we call Dougherty profile. And you're aware of it, David. And a Dougherty profile, in a sentence, is a smart and likable individual who we would gladly, proudly introduce to our best customer. That's a Dougherty profile. And so one of the questions that I asked was, do Dougherty profiles exist outside the United States?
Yes.
And it's sort of it's just, the answer is so obvious that it's interesting to me to ask it, because it just causes you to stop and think. Well, of course there are Dougherty profiles outside the United States. Why would we limit ourselves? We want all of them to be our teammates. And so that's part of our thinking and part of the process that Dee's driven and brought to life.
David, I just want to say, even though Ron asked that question, and I knew it was kind of a rhetorical question, I remember the day he asked me that question, and I knew the answer was yes. It was still a relief when it happened. When we started doing interviews with Poland, Funny, every engineer reminded me of every engineer I've ever known. I want to work on newer technologies. I want to work on interesting work. I want to work as part of a collaborative team. What am I going to learn? How big can my career, grow? They're the exact same. They're the exact same questions.
And I think what's really interesting for me there, and it takes me back to the access point piece and the diversity piece, which is what we've just basically said, the Doherty profile is a likable person I would happily introduce to one of my smart, likable person. But I think when you say
just
smart,
like you, David.
That's right. Well, yeah, hopefully, I'm trying to stay with the game. What I think is really important there, and I've had a few conversations with this about in the world of tech. Okay, there's superstars. Right, there's people that it doesn't really matter what background you're from, you are a maths wizard, right? You are an engineering wizard, and you will get a scholarship, and you will go wherever you come from, you're going to get that scholarship, you're going to go to university, college, and you're going to get a top job in a top firm, right? It's going to happen because your brain is very big, and you're almost beyond smart. Not always, let's be honest, not always the most likable person, but you're very, very good at that job, okay? What I think is really important, what you've said there, is you've obviously put an emphasis on smart, which isn't super intelligent, smart, right? Which also has common sense, has, the feel of a human being. Likable means you've got empathy, and then that I would put in front of a client, which is customer driven. One of the things I've talked about with regards to diversity, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts, is that does not mean a super intelligent maths whiz, does it? And that's where we can give more access, because what we're looking for is can come from anywhere, from any type of person. And that's what I think helps drive a great business, that you've got these likable people. Would you agree with me there, Dee? I mean, obviously you have to have a bar of talent, but it doesn't have to be so super high that people think they can't ever achieve it because they're not brilliant at maths from day one.
Absolutely. I mean, we invest in people, we develop people, we really focus on having the right mix of skill and talent on a team to deliver the solution. So yeah, I mean, I think, if you're that really super smart person you're talking about and you're not likable, you're probably not a Doherty profile. We're probably not going to want to stick you in front of a client.
Yeah, you can be super intelligent and likable as well. It's not impossible, but yeah.
So here's where you could actually quantify that a bit in terms of smart. Okay, we like high aptitude, and there's a point where that your aptitude is at a certain level so that you like to learn. When your aptitude is at a level where you like to learn, then you're smart. If you don't like to learn, then you should not join Doherty.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not going to insult or demean or belittle. Some people like to be comfortable and use what they know and use it for the rest of their career, and they should do that. But so there's a point, if you're smart enough, and there are different ways to say it, I'm not trying to belittle anybody, but if you want to learn, if you enjoy learning, if you want to continue to expand and grow what you know, then you're smart in our definition.
So important in technology, because as we know, technology is always changing. I know as an IT recruiter, it's a little bit like fashion sometimes, isn't it? This is really big. I'm quite interested in, I'm assuming that Doherty was founded like doing mainframe stuff. It's got a pre-PC days, I guess. Was that your kind of the type of tech you were working with in '85?
Back when we started with mainframes, no, it's interesting, we didn't. We've always focused on distributed computing.
Okay.
And distributed computing, even today, the evolution. In fact, when I started the company, the two largest computer companies in the world, two largest computer corporations were IBM. Yeah. Most everybody still knows who they are. Yeah. And Digital Equipment Corporation.
DEC. Yes.
Do you remember DEC? Digital Equipment
Corporation? I do remember DEC. Yeah, I've placed a few VAX VMS operators in my time. So yeah.
VAX VMS. So there are lots of people, maybe most of the technology workforce today has never heard of Digital Equipment Corporation.
Yeah.
Has never heard of them because they no longer exist. But they had more of a distributed, departmental, put the computer closer to the user paradigm. IBM had the big climate controlled computer room with operators in lab coats. And that was a lot of the computing world. So Digital Equipment Corporation came in, it caught on, and I was a VAX VMS expert. I was. That's where I started. I worked. I helped work on VAX VMS systems that developed the first cruise missile guidance system.
Wow.
And that sort of technology. I worked on VAX VMS systems to develop the first automated plant growth chambers. I worked on VAX VMS systems at a time before mobile computing technology existed to send signals through power lines that could be coded and decoded so that you could communicate through power lines. And we used that for utility companies to do meter readings through power lines. And then anyway, long story there, but that sort of thing. That's what I did. And so we started. We were the first tagline for Doherty was the VAX VMS specialist. That's what we were, Doherty, the VAX VMS specialist. And so
I could have worked with you back in the day, Ron. You could have. I was actually placing those people. I could have been there.
You could absolutely could have. And so that's what we did. But what we saw is the pattern and the evolution. Why is this important? Why is it powerful? It wasn't because it was VAX VMS. It was because it was distributed computing. It was because it was putting computing power closer to the users, and it was using things like, it enabled things like analytics. It enabled things that were newer technologies. We liked that a lot. And then we saw the evolution of Unix and open systems, and then net-centric computing, and then on into client server, net-centric mobile computing, the Internet of Things. Still today, distributed computing. The reason that Digital Equipment Corporation went out of business is because Ken Olsen, brilliant engineer and founder of Digital Equipment Corporation, didn't make the turn. He stayed with VAX VMS when open systems first became a topic. Unix was the first open system operating system. Ken Olsen famously said, Unix is snake oil. That's a quote from Ken Olsen. And everything went downhill from there. He didn't make the turn, even though he did a brilliant job building Digital Equipment Corporation to a certain point. Didn't make the turn. They went out of business. They were sold. They were acquired by Compaq, and most people have never heard of them anymore. We did make the turn, and that's a really important element of what we do at Dougherty. We're committed to be positioned on the leading end of technology. We recognize that technology will continuously change. We're constantly monitoring that, and that's why we need smart teammates, because what you work on today at Dougherty won't be the same thing that you work on at 5 years at Dougherty, because the technology will have changed and we will evolve with it. That's why I've been here for 37 years.
How do you, I mean, obviously that links back into the kind of like to learn, like to grow. How do you drive that, Dee? How do you drive that culture? Because obviously if you're dealing with super innovative technology, cutting edge technology, then everyone has to stay up with it. Otherwise you get behind the game. So how do you drive that within your workforce?
Sure. I mean, I can tell you my personal story. I came to Doherty with certain things I felt like I was an expert at. Some of it was delivery optimization, agile, product management. So not exactly in the exact, the techie space, right? But the second I get on a client, what am I faced with? Well, we need a data strategy. Can you help us with the data strategy, right? That's not exactly my sweet spot, but Ron has a structure in place of solution directors where they are keeping up with the latest technologies. He's investing in those capabilities, and I have a network I can reach out to, right? I can raise my hand and ask for help and build a team very quickly to answer, whatever that challenge is. So, I learned a lot from just being exposed to that. I really grew in data strategy, which I didn't come to Doherty with, but just based on the exposure. And I think that's what happens a lot is we have a network of experts we can pull in, but we also have a team that's learning along the way.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, isn't it? Because then you can be client focused, can't you? Because it's not, I don't deal with this, go and speak to that person over there or that person in another country. I get the feeling that with the clients that the VPs work with, they're very, very focused in on their customer, what the customer needs, and they go on that journey with them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's our job to help them continue to learn and grow even beyond their particular client. And so we have a number of mechanisms in place to share knowledge. And we also invest in and deliver hundreds of training courses every year to our teammates. So we have formal training. We have lunch and learns. I was just meeting with a group of our team managers, our first line managers, just this week, and pointed out to them that as leaders, we must bring value to those that we support. We have to. That's how we establish the value and worth of our role as a leader. And so I pointed out to them that one of the things that they can do for each of their teams that work for them, understand what those teams care about. Do they care about a product-oriented mindset? They care about machine learning, or are they interested in the latest techniques in agile development? And then pull in one of our strongest thought leaders, our world-class thought leaders on that topic, and set up a lunch and learn, and just have them come in and over a lunch, have the Doherty thought leader share, and everyone wins from that. Everyone wins. Yeah.
That's
hey, let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a little story real quick. I know there's probably some time limit on this podcast, but in terms of how technology has changed, let me just give you an example that struck me. I'm taking chess lessons with my son right now.
Okay.
So couldn't quite figure
are
out.
You actually doing live chess or virtual chess? Chess.com
So
or real chess, wooden pieces on the board?
Well, both, but it's a lot of virtual right now. Even my chess lessons are virtual. My son's in one place, I'm in another, and our instructor is in another. Yeah. And so just a lot of good things have come out of that, and a lot of interesting stories. Just one yesterday, in fact. But let me tell you this one, and that was we were reviewing a famous chess game, and it was one of the chess games in a very well-known, highly publicized chess championship years and years ago between Bobby Fischer from the U.S. and Boris Spassky from Russia. And there was a Cold War underway. There was a lot at stake, and the Russians had dominated the world of chess. Bobby was seen as an underdog in many ways, and so Bobby was starting to win this chess tournament. And there was speculation back there in the 70s. This was in the 1970s. Speculation that Bobby was tapping into a supercomputer somehow to make his chess win.
Is that the Russians thought that, or was that
as well? There was speculation, and at that time, it was interesting to me. It was interesting to me because every grandmaster in the world just laughed when they heard that, because the largest, most powerful supercomputer in the world would not stand a chance against a grandmaster in the 70s. And so we were talking about that story. And so I brought up the story because it was just interesting to me. And Alejandro, my first grandmaster from Costa Rica, was my instructor at that time. And he shared with me that Magnus Carlsen today, the dominant, reigning world chess champion today, if Magnus Carlsen, when he plays the smartphone in your pocket today, your smartphone will beat Magnus Carlsen every time. Yeah. Every time. So the largest supercomputer in the world couldn't stand a chance. the phone in your pocket can beat the best chess playing human in the world today every time. That's how far computing has come.
It is fantastic, and I think you know, working with companies like yourself, you know, you realize that you're really kind of pushing that forward and helping that technology, and that's great that you're also offering those opportunities to bring other people into that journey, which I think is great, and that's what gives significance, you know, to kind of bring it all back. But so with regards to that, obviously, you know, it's been a fantastic conversation. What I'd like to kind of finish off with, just a kind of quick point from each of you, is really the thing that you're most excited about, you know, post-COVID, hopefully we're moving forward, you're most excited about, you know, from the company in the next few years. You know, maybe I'll kind of come to yourself first, Dee. What really excites you about the journey that you're on in the next few years?
Well, I think for me, oh, sorry, this year's been
Dee,
so
I was
exciting.
going to ask you to go ahead and start. Please do.
Thanks, Ron. I think this year's been so exciting for me because we've been building a global workforce. But for me, when I look into the next year or two, I'd really like to see our client base be global. You know, I'd like to do some business development across Europe and Latin America. And if we do that, that'd be so exciting for me. Fantastic.
And what about yourself, Ron? Last words.
Yeah, well, I'm very excited. I'm very excited as well about our global expansion. But the number one issue for me is building and strengthening our leadership team to take us into the future. And what I tell my leaders, and what I'll tell everyone who joins this company, our teammates from Poland, from Panama, from the other countries that we will expand into, is that I'm betting my life's work on you, We're going to develop the team that works hard for this company and that helps us achieve our success every day. That will be the team that leads and owns this company as we move forward. So I'm working really hard to get smarter every day about the best ways to invest in that leadership development, to take this wonderful team that I have and continue to expand it, but to invest in the team as we grow, so that we develop the business leaders that can run and own this business as we move forward.
Okay, so Ron, what got you into the technology industry?
I worked for a small software development company. Then I worked for McDonnell Douglas, Boeing today, and Monsanto, Bayer today, and Emerson Electric Company. And I saw a trend. That newer technology had the power to bring competitive advantage, but that it also always brought confusion. And there was a dynamic. The technologists who understood and were motivated to work with the leading, most exciting new technologies, that they loved the technology, but did not always relate to the business side of the organization. And the business people they were intimidated by the new technology. And so that I just saw an opportunity in that. New technology, source of competitive advantage. We can understand how to bring together the business and the technology components, and then we can truly achieve some exceptional business results. And that's the foundational idea that caused me to launch Dougherty.
Brilliant, fantastic. So Ron, what does success mean to you?
Yeah, so success in terms of growth, expansion. I want to take the company forward to $1 billion a year in annual revenue. I want to add thousands of more teammates. But the reason for that success is so that we can be more significant. And significance means making a positive difference in the world, having an impact on the things that matter, like diversity, like sustainability, like some of the other very important issues today. So success means financial and business growth, but the reason for success in that, the reason I'm driven to achieve it, is to achieve more significance. And that's what really matters to me.
Brilliant. Okay, what's the one thing you're most excited about in the coming year?
Building up my leadership team. I have a wonderful group of teammates and leaders, and investing even more, because I've decided to never sell the company, to never take it public. So I'm going to transition ownership to my teammates. I'm betting my life's work on my teammates proudly and confidently. And so that's what I'm excited about, preparing the company for an employee-owned, employee-run, employee-owned business.
Brilliant. Name another company that inspires you.
Let me answer that just a little differently. I'll name two individuals. One is Tim Wentworth, the CEO of Evernorth, the largest division of Cigna. And
Okay.
I really admire Tim because he is so committed to significance. And in fact, I went to Tim, the CEO, when I first started my Access Point initiative, which is to create significantly more diversity in the technology workforce. And I asked Tim, the CEO, this was a new thing, new idea, would he be willing to partner with me on a pilot? He said yes, without hesitation. Everything fell in place, and our pilot has been tremendously successful, and it's going to help us change the world. Second person would be Daniel Myers, someone that I've worked with. He ran global supply chain for Procter & Gamble, for Kraft, and for Mondelez. And Daniel just came in and did a leadership training session for my most senior leadership team just last week. And Daniel spoke to the concepts of success versus significance, and shared how he'd achieved significance in his own career in life. Very inspiring. So I'll give you those two examples.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Okay, Dee, you're up.
All right.
What's your favorite project that Doherty has been involved with?
Well, I actually love our story about one of our agricultural clients. It's our sugar beet story. They wanted to improve their yield. They couldn't tell the difference between the sugar beet plant and the sugar beet weed. There was such a tiny difference. But Doherty used advanced imaging and advanced analytics to be able to see that minute difference and knock out those weeds and improve the yield. I love that story.
Brilliant, fantastic. More sugar for all of us. Great stuff. What's the best piece of business advice you've received?
Yeah, I received this really early in my career from someone who kind of took me under their wing, was kind of my mentor. And, he just basically told me, create win-win situations everywhere you go and everything you do. And if you do that, you're always going to have long-term partnerships.
Brilliant. What do you think will change the technology industry the most over the next decade?
I guess my perspective on that, and I don't think it's anything new, but when I look across, our many clients, I still see this divide. There's technology organizations and there's business organizations. I don't think you can just be a technology organization anymore. So I'm a big fan of, companies who realize that they need to combine those organizations. A lot of companies are combining product and technology. It's more now, the path to success is more test and learn. You're going to have to get out there. You're going to have to do a test. You're going to have to pivot. It's not this straight line of I'm going to hand over requirements and a document and IT is going to deliver. IT actually has to know what the value and the goal is to be able to pivot and get there.
Sure. And last question, what do you think the industry's biggest challenge is right now?
We've been talking about this. I'm going to have to call it related to COVID, apparently solving some supply chain issues. But a second answer to that would also be talent shortage. I think there's a growing talent shortage. It's just going to get worse, and we're going to have to create more talent.
Brilliant.
That's the key. Create more. Invest in creating more. So yeah. Really good.
Brilliant. Well, I said when I did this, I think I spoke to Dee that when I spoke to both of you, I was like, I finished off the call. I was like, I'd really like to work for Doherty myself, So I feel like I've got the profile. So yeah, you've done it to me again. I'm there. It's my next job. If it all fails at GCS, I'm there. I'll be your kind of UK country manager or something like that. I'm bought in. So yeah, so it's been great to speak to you guys. Thank you very much. Do wish you well with this global expansion and with this journey towards significance. So thank you very much. Thank you.
You're very welcome, David. And thanks for all your great help. You have a wonderful company, and I can see that our values align. I could tell that in our first conversation. And that's been a very important principle for me. Work with people that you admire and respect. Life's too short to do anything else. So appreciate the partnership.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Speak soon.